So yeah, make sure to check
Go
that
watch
out.
it.
Check out everything because we have things everywhere. Isn't that wild? Look up Trick Play everywhere. We're not the Spanish one. We're the English one, which you probably know by now. So just
If you've made it this far in the podcast, you should not be confused by that.
you can probably tell by now that both me and Caleb's Spanish speaking abilities are not quite on par as the other
No
ones.
habla español.
Yeah, exactly. We also don't talk. I think they do college football, so there's not even any crossover really. From what I you know what?
We
It's been a
talk.
while.
We talk college sometimes.
We occasionally talk college. We can give a shout out to the other Trick Play, who we did not know existed before creating the podcast, but that's all right. I think there is such a
The
difference
second
in
best Trick Play
demographic. The
podcast.
second best, yeah, which is still quite an honor, I will say. They have a lot more subscribers than we do. They're a lot cooler, apparently. But yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
You should just go ransack
To be
their
fair,
audience.
they've existed for like 4 years, I think, which is like the
It's gonna be us in 4 years. That's
Oh, yeah,
that's
big.
the goal.
big time. But yeah, feel free to go check them out because occasionally I think about it and I wonder if they've ever looked up their channel on YouTube and just go like, "Who are these assholes?" So yeah, go check them out because I think that's funny. But yeah, that's
Oh,
them.
it's in French. That's even worse.
Is it French? Oh, it does say French
Yeah.
up there. That's new.
Oh, that,
Oh,
I
you know what?
changed-
I wonder.
there was one in Spanish.
Was there?
Is there both? I think
Is there
there's both.
both?
You know what? I
We're the
rescind my
only.
shout out. I'm not shouting out the Trick Play French podcast. I was under the
Oh.
impression I was shouting out the Trick Play Spanish podcast, and that's really upsetting.
Yeah, you know what's crazy to me? Like we can now say we've had guests on now, and we can say it was lovely to have people on the podcast, but it comes with its own difficulties having more people, like trying to fit everything in. The one thing I've noticed is they have like 7 people on their podcast, and that is you know what? Hats off to them. Is all I have to say because that must be so hard to set up. Like I'm not saying that in any like ironic way at all. I'm like, holy smokes, that is good for you guys.
That is impressive. However,
Yeah.
this is the competition,
That's true.
and we're gonna beat their asses into the ground and get 8 people on the podcast next week. Tune in.
You won't even know who the 8
Tune
people
in.
are. We won't know who they are. They're
We
just
don't, even, we
here.
don't even know who the 8 people are.
I'm just
Tune
gonna
in.
call random people, cold call them.
Fuck it.
They'll be on.
Van Campbell's on the podcast next week where I verbally berate him for his choices. That's it.
We're gonna
See
use.
you later.
We're gonna
Tune
use.
in again.
We're gonna use whatever
Mic
that.
drop.
We're gonna use Omegle to like find random people online. And just like bring them on the
like-
podcast. you know what?
Like,
That would
sir,
be
what do you think about Van Campbell's decision?
that
to
would
run
be
it
a
on
funny
30
thing
goals
to add
5
to the
minutes
end
left
of
in
some
the
of these
fourth quarter?
podcasts. Actually, I will say I think that would be hilarious. Just like doing a basic.
We're gonna end
Just
up like getting groomed on there, though. I
That's
don't know
true.
what that's.
That's true. Well, groomed. We're both adults, but I mean, I know what you mean. I don't know how much I want to see some dude doing wacky things with wacky body parts when we're just trying to find some person for the sake of comedy. Just go, hey, what? Just like super high energy as well. It's like, welcome to the Trick Play Podcast. They just like fall backwards in their chair. Like that's what I want. That would be some comedy.